Marvel giveth and Marvel taketh away almost immediately before the book even comes out. I think a lot of people were like, you know what? Not liking Zeb Wells on Spider-Man. Joe Kelly has been hit or miss lately, but it's got to be better. And it's Joe freaking Kelly. He always works with great artists. And there was some speculation out there which artist he would be working with. Turns out we were pretty much right on that one, although there's an extra artist in there. But there's also an extra writer in there that throws up enormous red flags on the Joe Kelly Spider-Man era before it even begins. Unfortunately for Joe Kelly, I don't imagine this was a Joe Kelly decision. This was probably a Marvel Comics editorial mandate trying to get this writer over. And then there was other speculation that this might not be a long-term run. I think that has all been but confirmed. Whoever Marvel actually locked down to be the next Amazing Spider-Man ongoing writer probably just isn't available right now, didn't have the time to start up. But they knew they needed to end Zeb Wells' Spider-Man run because it was turning off so many people, and I do think the sales were going down. That's likely why they had to react to it. So we get this mismatch. I don't know what to call it, like crap soup. One ingredient can ruin the flavor of an entire stew, and certainly the flavor of an entire comic book, which I think is probably going to happen here. And I think at this point, enough people are jaded enough, are cynical enough with Marvel Comics that they're like, you know what? I guess I'll just wait for the real Amazing Spider-Man writer and hope that they don't throw some tag along on there that doesn't throw up enormous red flags on the comic book. Let's get to the new information we have about the Joe Kelly Amazing Spider-Man era. As one era of Spider-Man approaches its end, the next could be deadly for the web crawler. In an all-new epic launching later this year, fans could experience more than one death of the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Not much has been revealed beyond a cryptic Marvel teaser that released on the official Spider-Man Twitter page. The new 10-part event will be titled The 8 Deaths of Spider-Man, and it will be written by Joe Kelly and Justina Ireland and drawn by Ed McGuinness, Gleb Melnikoff, and more. I don't like the and more thing because that is very ambiguous. So we're going to throw the and more off stuff because I don't even know what that means other than there's going to be another artist or two obviously illustrating ASM during this very brief period. It's only going to be 10 issues, and it's going to be one story called The 8 Deaths of Spider-Man. Why is it not a miniseries? Because they had to shut down the Zeb Wells ASM run, and they've decided to replace it with just basically a filler story, just like a little placeholder. Essentially what they did with the Beyond era of Amazing Spider-Man were like, well, Nick Spencer's leaving. We're not sure who we want to take over. We'll try out 6 different writers all at the same time and eventually come up with Zeb Wells, who was at least coming off a pretty damn good run on Hellions. Don't know that really means anything anymore because the Krakoan era was such a flop. If you remember before the Krakoa era, they brought in like 5 writers to basically just stall for time. They were going to reintroduce Uncanny X-Men, and we got that stupid Age of X-Men event or whatever that stupid thing was. That was just a placeholder. That's exactly what's going on here, which is difficult in and of itself to get excited for, even with as accomplished a writer as Joe Kelly is. And Joe Kelly has accomplished a lot in comic books, not only at Marvel, but certainly on his own merit outside of Marvel as well. Joe Kelly, not an issue. Ed McGuinness, longtime Joe Kelly collaborator, not an issue. Ed McGuinness is great. He doesn't get nearly as much work as he should be getting, in my opinion. Certainly has been working on ASM every once in a while as a fill-in artist and has been basically great. Fucking fantastic. And has been basically great every single time he stepped into there and has been a refreshing change. Gleb Melnikoff, one of the artists that I'm still shocked is not on an ongoing DC book. He's been working with them for a little while. I think Gleb Melnikoff is freaking awesome. He's really, really talented. He's got a unique style. He's got his own flavor of comic book art. And he has a way of making superhero characters look really awesome when they're doing their superheroics, when they're actually using their powers. Gleb Melnikoff has a great feel for that. If you would like an example, like you're not familiar with Gleb Melnikoff, go check out the Superman stuff he was doing with Josh Williamson. Just a few fill-in issues here and there. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Every time Gleb Melnikoff is on a Marvel or DC book, and mostly it's been DC thus far, I've really liked it. He's right there. Like the 2 other artists that have worked at Marvel and DC that I'm just shocked do not have ongoing work is like Miguel Mendoza, who's done some really awesome stuff, but for some reason can't get his own series. And then I think V. Ken Marion is doing some stuff in the crowdfunding world right now, but has done some really awesome work at DC Comics in the past. For some reason, they won't put him on an ongoing book. But those are 3 artists to look out for. So you throw Joe Kelly, Ed McGuinness, and Gleb Melnikov on there, and we're talking about some serious talent, something to really work with, something to get excited about. And then there's that name that likely most of you don't even recognize because she really hasn't written any comic books, Justina Ireland. You're like, who the hell is that? That's a pretty damn good question. I'm not completely familiar with Justina Ireland. I've read one comic book that she's written. It was Amazing Spider-Man Blood Hunt #1. I believe issue #2 has come out. I didn't go back and check it out. That's how I feel about Justina Ireland. I basically read everything with ASM on it. And I decided that was skippable after reading the first issue because it's just not very good. Is it Jadzia Axelrod Hawkgirl bad? No. Is it Celeste Bronfman Jackpot and Black Cat bad? No. But it's not good either. It's just pretty much bad writing. And it's another one of those red flags. Why are you putting this writer that has no association with Joe Kelly, and you look at the stuff that they have done in the past, does not mix at all with what Joe Kelly is known for, certainly in his time with Marvel Comics, but certainly in indie scene. They're just throwing her in there because they want to make a name out of her and hope that Joe Kelly can do that, with her basically riding him to the finish line, hoping that they can make a name out of her. But that's not going to happen. She is who she is. She hasn't written a lot of comic books, but there's not a whole lot of talent there. If you want more information, like I said, I don't really know much about Justina Ireland other than she had been writing a lot of the Star Wars, the High Republic novels, not even the comic books. She's been doing the novels that have basically bombed, and everybody that's Star Wars fans that likes the novels basically hate. She's been a big time writer in there. I think she's done 6 novels so far, and then a couple of other novels for Disney Star Wars as well. I think that's where apparently she is an award-winning novelist or something like that. I did go read her bio. There is some information, I guess, on Wikipedia. Make of that what you will, but I did read that she was like a Arabic linguist when she was in the military. And as somebody that worked in an entire unit full of linguists, that does not paint a pretty picture. Those guys are fucking douchebags almost across the board. I fucking loathed working basically with every linguist, except for like 5. 5 of them were cool. Didn't really enjoy working with the rest of them. It was just a really weird environment. But we do have some other things that her writing, I guess, focuses on, and some of the activism that she's known for, because she had to be an activist to get this job. In the Wikipedia article, Justina Ireland is known for writing strong female characters and for addressing issues of race, class, power, misogyny, sexism, and colorism in her fiction. Ireland is known as an outspoken advocate for diversifying YA literature. Leela Shapiro, in a 2018 article in New York, called her YA Twitter's leading warrior. She has been vocal about the need for more authors of color and stories that feature characters of color in YA literature. Ireland is also the founder of Writing in the Margins, an organization that provides mentorship to writers from historically marginalized groups. That's what we needed at Marvel Comics for the secret sauce to finally work. We need more activists on Amazing Spider-Man. I really want to see Peter Parker checked on his white privilege. I want to see Peter Parker debased and basically get on his knees in front of Mary Jane begging for a slice of pussy. That's what we've been missing from Amazing Spider-Man. And it's great to know that Justina Ireland will be in here to, I don't know, add some of those elements to the comic book itself. Like, why do they keep hiring these activists? Every time they've done this, it's blown up in their face. Obviously the Ta-Nehisi Coates thing blew up really bad. He doesn't even work for the company anymore. Every single book they put Alyssa Wong on blows up in their face, but but for some reason they still keep hiring her. But she's been very outspoken as well and said, this is what I'm going to do at Marvel Comics. This is what I want to do with these characters. It has nothing to do with the fans. It has nothing to do with the characters in the universe. I want to make things more like I want them to be. And it sounds like Justina Ireland, maybe not quite as outspoken as an Alyssa Wong, also comes to Marvel Comics with an agenda, because people know what she's about when she's writing all that stuff. And I think it's cool that she has a mentorship group out there and is working with people and trying to identify talent and mentor them and get them into, the literary profession, all that kind of stuff. but I don't think the activism and all that kind of stuff. But I just don't think activism is really something people want to be hearing when they bring in new talent into Marvel Comics, because of all the activism that has basically been bringing the company down and brought it to its knees, really, over the last 5 to 10 years or so. So, enormous red flag right there. What is Justina Ireland doing here? Joe Kelly, Ed McGuinness, Gleb Melnikoff, all sounds great. One of these things is not like the other, i.e., one of them is not an accomplished comic book writer. One of them is not an accomplished person that's ever done anything at Marvel or DC that sold or even looked good or read good. And they're coming in here with an agenda other than actually entertaining people. And as someone that read one Justina Ireland book, which is probably more than 95% of you out there, it quite frankly was not very good. And, you know, it didn't portend that she even knew what she was doing. You could tell she hasn't really written comic books. And I don't think she really even cares about comic books, just from what I've seen. And I did have other people reach out to me like, oh, you don't remember Justina Ireland when this happened, when this happened. Apparently she is an asshole on Twitter and likes to talk down to people and is very hyper political and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to see all that stuff, go find her on Twitter and she'll probably piss you off with all that as well. As far as the death of Spider-Man, which should, I guess, be the main event in the headline going in here, it almost feels like an afterthought once you start seeing those red flags that this is going to be a limited series. We're going to bring in another writer riding the coattails of fucking Joe Kelly, likely to destroy the whole damn thing. But they are promising that they're going to kill Spider-Man not once, but 8 times. But to be fair, Marvel has killed Spider-Man before. Well, a Spider-Man in a 2011 storyline that ultimately gave the world Miles Morales. So maybe they're hoping for 8 different breakout characters to emerge from this murder spree. It could be just like what happened to Superman in the 1990s, only more so. Of course, the title might have multiple different meanings. Is Spider-Man dying 8 different times? Are 8 different Spider-Men from across the multiverse dying? Or is the comic book taking a leaf from the pages of the 1980s Batman storyline and killing off other people dressed as Spider-Man? I'm not really sure. You know, you see the graphic and there's 8 tombstones. And there's like a 1 and 2 and it goes all the way to 8. I don't know that I'm wanting to watch Spider-Man die once, let alone 8 times. That doesn't get me excited to read a book like, oh, you know, that character I really like and I like to see what he does and he's really cool. I want him to die. Like, well, what if we would kill him 8 times? Like, that doesn't really give me that comic book stiffy that maybe Nick Lowe thinks is going to happen. I assume Nick Lowe's the reason that this is all going on. And he's very lucky that Joe Kelly even signed on to it and probably brought along Ed McGuinness. I'm not sure if Joe Kelly has a relationship with Gleb Melnikoff, but he got pretty lucky to actually get a name writer on something like this. But it feels like another Nick Lowe idea. Nick Lowe hasn't had a good Spider-Man idea. Oh, man. What's the last good Spider-Man idea Nick Lowe had? That's fucking up in the air. I'm not really even sure. What's the last cool thing they've done with Spider-Man? Do you want to consider Red Goblin a cool idea? It's pretty derivative. It's the same thing over and over again. Maybe it's putting Doc Ock's mind in the body of Peter Parker. That was kind of cool because it did show you something or explain something or demonstrated to the reader something that they didn't really know, just how powerful Spider-Man is, that he was having to hold back so he wouldn't kill people. You could have probably inferred that because he is very strong, you know, can lift 10,000 pounds or whatever. But I did think it was a cool, ingenious way of demonstrating that. And we certainly see that with other characters, but I thought it was done well. Superior Spider-Man, while an idea that should have been dead long ago, when it happened was actually really good. So maybe that's the last cool thing that happened for Spider-Man under Nick Lowe. Like, I don't get the feeling that anything Nick Spencer was doing with Spider-Man was because Nick Lowe thought that was a good idea. I think that was just their Spider-Man writer and he did it in spite of Nick Lowe. But that's just kind of my feeling about the guy right now. I don't think Nick Lowe should probably be on Spider-Man anymore. I think he's well past his sell-by date. He hasn't had anything to contribute to Spider-Man in a long time. And that's why we're getting shit like this. Fill-in runs of 10 issues before the real writer shows up. Throwing Justina Ireland in there for no reason. Got some good artists in there, but I don't want to see Spider-Man die. That doesn't excite me. It doesn't get me like really jazzed to buy the book. It almost feels like something that I would want to kind of avoid, but I do read the big books. I do read Batman, whether I like it or not. I do read ASM, whether I like it or not. I do read X-Men, whether I like it or not. Superman, whether I'm locking it or not. So I'm going to have to read it just because it's in continuity and it's the ASM book. But my goodness, my intrigue turned to complete cynicism pretty quickly. And Marvel Comics, they got a way of doing that now. They can really destroy any kind of enthusiasm that they build just like that, just by being themselves. I mean, like, you know what we need on ASM? You know why ASM isn't working with Zeb Wells? We just don't have enough activists contributing to the comic book, unfortunately. So I imagine it's going to look good. Great artists on there. Joe Kelly at least is going to outline it and probably plot it. Hopefully Justina Ireland's not writing too much, at least of the script and the ideas. So hopefully it's at least passable, but I wouldn't count on that for Marvel Comics these days. And like I said, big red flag for me. You like more conversations about ASM and all the stuff going on at Marvel Comics. Big news coming out of DC in the not too distant future. We're almost at San Diego Comic-Con. You've got to keep it here on Think Critical YouTube, but also Think Critical Patreon, where we have much bigger discussions about all that kind of stuff. If you're interested in supporting me over there, we do have a free trial going on right now. You do get a shout out on the Comics Aficionados if you support us on Patreon. There's a link in the video description.